Right, welcome back to another tutorial for the animation module in Jahshaka. In my last tutorial, I tried to cover as much as I could, but there were some things I inevitably forgot. It was partly because I was just worried about the length of the tutorial. So I'm just going to do a bit of housekeeping basically and just show you how some of the stuff is done. So if you click on add layer here, some of you may have noticed if you followed me through on this last tutorial, it says layer, which is obviously your normal layer. It says matte layer. Now, matte layer, I would normally assume by the basic thing that it's saying matte layer would be some type of alpha matte you could put on there or something. So it would, but I've never been able to get it to work, and I've tried. If anyone knows, I would be please upload an explanation of how to make it work. 3D text we've already covered. Light, which is basically a light. It's generally not that hard, so the light comes as a part of something else, so let's delete it from there. Let's put it under, so if we select Jahshaka, click on light, as you can see it's gone all dark now, and the reason is because of the position of the light. If we need to bring the light in front of the Jahshaka, because at the moment it's right in the same plane, so click on light, click on controls. If we bring it out, as you can see, it now lights up Jahshaka, and then we can obviously move it around as we want, and you can do that with any of the layers. Again, with this you can also move the light around. You can also change the color over time, so you can have plus there. If I then go around here, as you can see it's dark there, I can then change said color to blue, and that to, I don't know, pink or something, and click on plus there, and what will happen is you'll see the light change over time. Obviously that's not reflected in this dot, but rather in the light itself. Right, what else can you do here? Sorry. The third thing is a particle. So if you click there and click on play, it brings out particles. Now the particles, you see them and you think, wow, that's amazing, and it's quite good, and there's different types. There's fountain, fireflies. In fact, if you get shape, you can actually then add in your own thing, and it actually, sorry, is it shape? Style, sorry, if you click on texture, I mean clip, you can add in your own clip, and then your clip would be, so if you wanted loads of thousands of little explosions, you could then add your clip in on top of that. Let's say the detonations film one, and you have loads of thousands of different detonations going on down there. I'm not going to do it because I'm sure my computer will probably crash, because it's being used to the brim now with the old recording software. And the only thing I find about this problem is that once it starts, fair enough, but then when you carry on playing it, it doesn't seem to reset, and it just comes up, as you see, like earlier on it was down here, now it's up here, and it just doesn't make any sense to me, and it's really hard to control. So it's one of those that I keep away from, and I'd recommend you to keep away from it unless you're just looking for quick impressive effects as like a background thing. So if we did I think it's swirl, and we just did a point, and like if you had that running in the background or something, and you can actually change the size of it, so the orientation, and as you can see, if you have that running in the background, so you could have it as like a motion graphics background and create it as that against a black layer, and then you can stick whatever you want on front, and it kind of like what newsreaders have. We'll delete that. And the final thing is 3D object. Now what happens is, damn, the reason Jahshaka's crashed now is not because it doesn't let me load a 3D object, it's simply because I've got so much going on. I think my computer just can't handle it at the moment. Between Jahshaka, which is quite obviously video processing, video effects is quite CPU intensive, and the fact that it's recording this, my laptop is a bit shoddy. But if you add layer, click on 3D object. Oh, there it is. It's loaded there for you. This is the default in Jahshaka, which is an aeroplane. So if you click on layers, if you click on it says load object. So you can load in theoretically anything. I think it's 3ds Max format. So it's the 3ds format or the OBJ format. And then you can change it how you want. So effectively, so if we want to do, let's say, a plain flyby, we could do, let's have the plane go. In fact, yeah, we could have done this in my like that. And then if I'd added on a layer on top of that, and let's say put the sky replacement on top of that, bring it out here like that. We'll bring this 3G object slightly to the left. And then this layer, as we did before with the Kia. What we'll do is I'll add a chroma key. These are 256. If I remember rightly, 256. 256. And there you go. And then behind that we could put a sky layer. And you have basically a plane flyby. And then what we do is here, then we could animate said plane flying. So if I give the plane an animation like that, as you can see, obviously this is a quick rough and dirty, you'd have to do like a motion track or whatever, but it gets the job done. While we're here on a point, it is covered in my tutorial for sky replacement, but you can actually animate the chroma key values. So around here now we've actually lost our chroma keying, so if we go back to where it was pretty good, I'm going to select my chroma key, click plus. Now here where it's pretty bad, all we do is we just increase our range, click on plus again, and we've got a fairly clean plate, even if I do say so myself, which kind of works for everyone. The only thing to note about this 3D objects is that because we're also utilizing Z space, at one point you notice here it's not actually visible, although it should be. The reason is because it's actually behind this layer, and this layer is in front of it in Z space, so there is a bit of issues with that. But again, a bit of creativeness, it just depends on what you're looking for and how you want to do it. You can actually get around that. It's not something I've really often used. The reason is because, as you can see, it's grey, and I don't know of any way of importing complex textures in. I've tried doing it via Blender and exporting stuff out, but it just doesn't seem to import the textures. It imports the object, but not the textures. So it's one of them that has just limited use, and every now and then, maybe if you want to put it in, it'll help. So again, we have the scene tab like everywhere else, which basically you can load stuff. So if we were doing this, then I had to go out for some reason. Like, you could obviously save it, then click on load. Fairly standard stuff that you get in pretty much most programs. Reset all resets everything back to its base. So for this one, it will reset it back to its base. Clear scene will obviously delete everything in the scene. Import effects, export effects. So again, just like the effects module, if you create an effects tree, you can then inside of the animation module, which effectively you can then export that and then import it later on for use on a different piece of material. So hence the reason in the effects module I actually said, in a way, it's kind of redundant, because whatever's you can do in the text and the effects module, you can do in the animation module. And because you've got the extra layers and you've got more layers, you can add them on top of each other. There's so much more flexibility. So let's say we've got our layer. The final thing really you need to know is, how do we get it out of here? How do we get this out of our animation layer. How do we export it out? Well, if you come on the right hand side, you've got zoom controls. You've got manipulation controls to move, rotate, scale. Then underneath you've got a snapshot, which if you click that, basically it just takes a picture. It takes a single frame picture of whatever you're on there. Then there's a camera button. Now the camera button will render out whatever you have here, and what it will do is it will render out from the point at which you are at all the way to the end. So that means that if you've done like a 30-second long special effect sequence, but your cursor's actually at the 20-second mark, and you press this, it's only going to render out from the 20 seconds to 30 seconds. So if you want to render out the whole sequence, you have to remember to bring it all the way to the back. So obviously the easiest way is just click back there and then click there. It'll start rendering. If at any point you stop it, it will again cut it off at the point in which you stopped it, so it won't be the full clip. As you can see now, they've now appeared here as animation image 9 because it's an image, and animation clip 10. So if we go back to our desktop, I'll tidy these up. I've got an image here, I've got a clip, and as you can see, it's not the full clip because I cut it off halfway between. Now these you can now export. You can export it from here via two methods. You can use the encoder. This is a bit hit and miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And you, unfortunately, within Jahshaka, even though it can import HD, for some reason it can't export HD video, which I find extremely weird. But it's either PAL or NTSC. And then you have your codecs. DivX is probably the best one because the others give really shoddy quality. The other option is to click on export clip. And if you export clip, the best thing to do first before you do that is make a new folder. So click on desktop, click on make a new folder, I'll call it a new folder or whatever. And then having selected new folder, click on OK. And what it will do is it will export that clip to there. But what does it export it as? It exports it as pictures. It won't export it as a media file. It'll export it as pictures, and then you'd have to use another program to connect them together. At the moment, I think this is the method that you'd have to utilize if you were using HD video inside of Jahshaka. So you'd do the HD, you'd export it back to your desktop, and then you'd export it as pictures. And as a picture, I haven't tried it myself because I don't have a HD camera as yet, but I would have thought it'd export it in HD resolution. And then you could use another program to just stitch them all together. And there's loads of free programs out there that stitch them together. In the future, I might do a review on one said program. So yeah, so hopefully that's covered over these two modules. How to use the animation module, the basics of it, and how you layer everything together to make a composition, how you export from it, a quick overview of all the different types of layers you can have, and the different types of controls you can have, and the different types of things you can do. Again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to help you out. Thank you, and bye.